We have dogs and cats and goats and chickens. And they're all so loud today. Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be working on making something from scratch that I don't think a lot of people really think about being able to make. So one of my favorite things is when I go to the grocery store, I like to get a lot of one specific thing, buy that in bulk. That way I'm able to bring it home and turn that one ingredient into a whole variety of other things. So this works really well for things like flour. I will buy flour in bulk and then bring it home and make tons of different kinds of bread. And in the same way, I am going to do that with some hamburgers, some ground beef that I got a really good deal on here a while back. So I'm going to pull a pound of that out of my freezer. And today we are going to make some homemade chorizo, which is a spicy Mexican style sausage. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to get started with my dried chilies. This is really the only thing that most people probably don't just already have in their pantry. But it's also something that's fairly inexpensive. So I found them at Walmart, I found them at Target, at our local, even small grocery store in our very small town. I have found them, but you can also order them online. They have them at Whole Foods. So the two different kinds of dried chilies that I'm going to use today are guajillo chilies, and you can use, for the second one, you can use ancho chilies, pasilla chilies. I am going to use New Mexican chilies because that's just what I have. If you don't have those two and you have a couple of other kinds, I would highly suggest Googling them and seeing what you can substitute for which ones. So I am going to de-seed and devein the dried chilies, and then I'm going to pour about a cup and a half of hot water over them and let them sit in that for about 10 to 15 minutes. Let that rehydrate those chilies. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my ingredients together. Okay, so for this next part, you're going to need a blender of some kind. You can use an immersion blender if that's what you have. You can use a big blender if that's what you have. You could do this in a food processor probably, just something that is going to break this down. The first thing I'm going to do, my chilies have completely rehydrated. So I am going to plop those right into the bottom of my blender. And then to that, we're going to take a half a cup of this reserved liquid. And then to that, we are going to add a quarter of a cup of vinegar. So I'm going to use apple cider vinegar today. You can also use white vinegar if that's all you have. And then we need 2 cloves of garlic. I always just get this minced garlic. I'm always happy with this. It's going to be about 2 tablespoons of this minced garlic. The beauty in this recipe is that you're not baking, so it's not really a science. It's really just more to taste. So if there's one chili that you find that you like better, you can always use that one instead. Or if there's a spice that you don't like that I'm adding, feel free to omit that one, because everything is really just going to be to taste. To that, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground oregano. I'm just going to use the same half teaspoon and do it twice. And we're going to use 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of kosher salt and a teaspoon of ground black pepper. I'm going to take this over to my blender and I am going to get it nice and blended into kind of a paste. Okay, I have my paste nice and blended up. It is smooth and it smells so good. To that mixture, I am going to add a pound of ground beef that I have thawed out into this, and then I'm going to massage it in with my hands. I have everything all mixed together, and now I have a colander set into a bigger bowl. So what we want to do is kind of drain some of those excess juices out while we marinate this meat. So without pushing it in, I'm just going to kind of plop it down. The juices are going to start to drain out of that meat. And in the end, you're going to have a really, really tasty chorizo from that. So this is going to get completely wrapped with plastic wrap, and then I'm going to put it in my refrigerator for about 6 hours. So I pulled my my chorizo out of the refrigerator, and quite a bit of this juice has kind of pulled out of it. So now what I'm going to do is take this, so we have a pound of meat here. I'm going to take this and separate it into 2 bags, and we'll cook half a pound at a time. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in this bowl for right now while I separate it out. But it does smell delicious. Has a really nice texture to it as well. It's a little bit crumbly, but that's okay because chorizo is a little bit crumbly in nature. Oh, you can smell those peppers and the cumin in there. It's gonna have a little bit of a vinegary bite. And that's it. So I'm gonna put one of these in the freezer and save it for later, and the other one I am going to brown up with some scrambled eggs, and that is going to be my husband's breakfast for the rest of this week.